Jamunatira vanatari Jamunatira vanatari Jaya-ratha-madhava kunja bihari Gopi Janavalabha Kirvardhari Gopi Janavalabha Kirvardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira vanatari Jamunatira vanatari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Mandava Radha Mandava Radha Jaya Pancha-tattva Jaya Pancha-tattva Pancha-tattva Jaya Pancha-tattva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Parivrajaka-charya, astu-totre, Srimad, Divine Grace, His Confounded Child. Śrīla Abhacharya Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Parivrajaka-charya, astu-totre, Srimad, His Divine Grace, His Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai. Namacharya Śrī Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Si Kahau Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadara Śrī Vasadi Si Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath-puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Saman devotees. All glories to the Saman devotees. All glories to the Saman devotees. All glories to Sister Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswati vyasa tato jaya mudiraya nasta payesvabhadesu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavaiti naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 39. Title of this chapter is The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev. Vijaya-ratha-kuṭumbha ātta-totre. dhṛta-haya-raśmini tac-chriyekṣaṇīye. Bhagavati ratiḥ me mumūrṣoḥ. Yam iha nirīkṣya hatā gata sva-rūpam. Can someone try? Can someone try? Matajis, anyone? So word for word translation, then translation and purport. By His divine grace, His confounded Acharya, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Vijaya, Arjuna, ratir, chariot, kuṭumbe, the object of protection at all risk. Ātta-totre, with a whip in the right hand. dhṛta-haya, controlling the horses. Raśmini, ropes. tat-śriyā, beautifully standing. īkṣaṇīye, to look at. Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead. astu, let my attraction be. Mumūrṣoḥ, one who is about to die. Yam, upon whom, iha, in this world, nirīkṣya, by looking. Hatā, those who died. gatāḥ, attained. sva-rūpam, original form. Translation: at the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra attained their original forms after death. Please kindly responsibly repeat. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra attained their original forms after death. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of the Lord within himself because of being transcendentally related by loving service. Such a pure devotee cannot forget the Lord for a moment. This is called trance. The mystic yogi tries to concentrate upon the supersoul by controlling the senses from all other engagements, and thus he ultimately attains samadhi. A devotee more easily attains samadhi or trance by constantly remembering the Lord's personal feature along with his holy name, fame, pastimes, etc. Therefore, the concentration of the mystic yogi and that of the devotee are not on the same level. The concentration of the mystic is mechanical, whereas that of the pure devotee is natural in pure love and spontaneous affection. Bhishma Dev was a pure devotee, and as a military marshal, he constantly remembered the battlefield feature of the Lord as tat-totre, the chariot driver of Arjuna. Therefore, the Lord's pastime as tat-totre is also eternal. The pastimes of the Lord, beginning from his birth at the prison house of Kamsa up to Masala Lila at the end, all move one after another in all the universes. Just as the clock hand moves from one point to another. In church pastimes, his associates, like the Pandavas and Bhishma, are constant eternal companions. So Bhishma Dev never forgot the beautiful feature of the Lord as tat-totre, which even Arjuna could not see. Arjuna was behind the beautiful tat-totre, while Bhishma Dev was just in front of the Lord. As far as the military feature of the Lord is concerned, Bhishma Dev observed this with more relish than Arjuna. All the soldiers and persons on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra attained their original spiritual form, like the Lord, after their death, because by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they were all able to see him face to face on that occasion. The conditioned souls rotating in the evolutionary cycle from the aquatics up to the form of Brahma are all in the form of Maya, or the form obtained by one's own actions and awarded by material nature. The material forms of the conditioned souls are all foreign dresses, and when the conditioned soul becomes liberated from the clutches of material energy, he attains his original form. The impersonalist wants to attain the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord, but that is not at all congenial to the living sparks, parts and parcels of the Lord. Therefore, the impersonalists again fall down and get material forms, which are all false, and which are all false in the spirit soul. A spiritual form like the Lord's, either two-handed or four-handed, is attained by the devotees of the Lord, either in a Vaikunthas or a Goloka planet, according to the original nature of the soul. This form, which is 100% spiritual, is the sva-rūpa of the living being, and all the living beings who participated on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra on both sides attained their sva-rūpa, as confirmed by Bhishma Dev. So Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa was not merciful only to the Pandavas. He was also merciful to the other parties because all of them attained the same result. Bhishma Dev wanted the same facility also. And that was his prayer to the Lord, although his position as an associate of the Lord is assured in all circumstances. The conclusion is that whoever dies looking on the personality of Godhead, within or without, attains its sva-rūpa, which is the highest perfection of life. Om Jnana Timirandasya, Jnana Jana Salakaya, Saksur Militam, Jena Tasmai, Si Gorabve Namaha, Sachetanya Manobistam, Stavfitam Jena Bhutali, Swayam Rūpam Kadamayam, Dadati Sva Padantikam, Vancha Kalpataribhyacha, Kripa Sundabhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanabhya, Vaishnavabhya, Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutali Semate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinamani Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharini Nivisesa Sonya Vadi Pasata Disatari Jaya Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadara Rasi Vasari Sigora Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to this morning Bhagavatam class. Those who live in the temple, they have this great opportunity of having to participate in Bhagavad Gita, whether they like it or not, every morning, every evening. So it's a privilege. It's not the right of anyone, and so is the mercy of the Lord. So here, in this very text, Bhishma Dev is providing some insight about what each and every one of us should do at the time of death. What should be our consciousness? What should be the object of our meditation? Why? Because in the Gita, Lord Krishna mentioned yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajanti ante kalevaram. Whatever we remember at the time of death, that will be our attainment. That will be our achievement. And so the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to prepare us to be able to attain that consciousness of always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna even for a moment. Smata vyat satatam Vishnu vishmata vyat najatusit. So we are cultivating our bhakti. We should have this in mind. What is the goal? I mean, it's like you want to conduct a research. First of all, what is the problem you're trying to solve? If you say you're conducting a scientific research, so the first idea, the first question that any other scientist will ask you is, what are you investigating? What is the problem you're trying to solve? So we are in devotional service.
And we have been investigating Krishna consciousness teachings for years. What is the goal of this? We have been reading. We have been acquiring so much of spiritual information culture. But what is the goal of this? And so, when we have this understanding, and why do we have to do this? Why? Is it a specific problem, or is it a general problem? So the issue of disease, old age and death, suffering in this material world is a general problem. If you go to America, it's the same thing. I remember one day I was going to go to something in a store in New York, and so one guy, he came to me, I dressed like this, and so he saw some black guy in a strange dress, so he came to me to ask me some questions. So I responded, and then he said, "So you travel all over the world? So comparing the places you've traveled to and New York, which is better?" I said, "They are all places where birth and death takes place, where suffering is going on." He busted out laughing. Maybe he was expecting, New York, it's a very beautiful place. But I was blank with him. I told him, any place I've been to, the prominent things that I see is that people get old, people get sick. No matter how much money, even the doctors, they get sick. And so, in general, people don't have the preparatory classes. It's like you want to go for entrance exam, to go to college or to go to university. You have to go, sometimes the parents are wealthy, then they send you to preparatory classes. You pay extra money. But that is to prepare you to face that challenge squarely. So we have a challenge called death, looming menacingly on the horizon of the global village. But no one is talking about that. Everybody knows that one day they will die, but how many people are prepared? And if even they have to prepare, what is the preparation? So Prabhupada did a wonderful thing for us by transporting this knowledge to the West. And this knowledge has spread all over the world. Sometimes we speak someplace. I remember one time going to give a lecture at a university. It was final year students, and it was a class in the Department of English Language. So what will you say to English Language Department? English Language, students, they're graduating that year. But, the professor, he engaged me to talk on comparative culture. So I chose to make a presentation on comparing the Vedic culture and the African culture, because I was traveling in Africa at that time. But then, after the class, one of the students, during the question and answers, he said, why are you people hiding this high profile knowledge? I said, come on, we're hiding this knowledge and we are on the streets distributing our books. We are on the social media, on the TV, on the radio, giving information about this knowledge. You say you've not encountered us, maybe, but we're not hiding the knowledge. That is why I came here. I'm not paid to come here to come and make a presentation to you. So some people, they get really elated when they hear the philosophy, when they hear the information that is embedded in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. But how many people are fortunate? And therefore, it is important for us to understand that the pure devotee, basically who is thinking of Krishna 24/7. People are very proud of doing their business 24/7. They go on shifts. I think in India, in some of the companies, they don't close at all. If they go on shift, it's 24-hour shift. So people are proud of engaging people 24/7. But the pure devotee is fully engaged in the remembrance of the Lord, in chanting the holy names of the Lord 24/7. That is the difference between us and the pure devotees. To chant even 16 rounds, it takes how many hours? Maybe 2 hours. And immediately we manage to finish that, we throw the beads aside. Have finished my rounds. So out of the 24 hours, we gave 2 hours of rapport with Krishna. All the rest of the 22 hours, we don't know. So, Papa mentions in the purport here that a pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of the Lord within himself because of being transcendentally related by loving service. If you love someone, you'll be thinking about them. I've seen people who carry their spouses or their girlfriend or boyfriend pictures in their pocket. Immediately you start a conversation with them, they bring it out. This is my wife, or this is my husband, or this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. If we can transfer that affection and attachment to Krishna, we'll become pure devotees overnight. Affection is something, it's ingrained. We don't go and buy it in the mall. We don't go and buy it in the shop. I want to buy an affection, the emotion of affection, so that I can be affectionate towards, my loved ones. We don't buy it. It's right there inside of us. So, Prabhupada always use this word, dovetailing. So if we could dovetail our affection for the world, for the people of the world, if we can dovetail our affection to Krishna, we could become pure devotees overnight. But if even we are given that chance, some of us will say, I'm not ready for it. I have so many things to do. Let me finish all of those things, then I'll come to this level. I'll come to that platform. So Bhishma Dev here is saying, is yearning to concentrate all of his cumulative thoughts, cumulative affection on the form of the Lord, his pastimes. Baba mentioned the purpose that, in a sense, Bhishma Dev, in terms of the vision of that Parthasarati, Bhishma Dev was even more fortunate than Arjuna. Because, Krishna was right in the front of Arjuna, and he was giving directions to Arjuna. Arjuna was giving him directions. Hey, take the chariot there. Drive me there. Drive me. Let me see this. Let me see these soldiers. So Krishna was driving the chariot, but Arjuna was not so much blessed to see his face because Arjuna was behind Krishna. Now, there are two things here. Bhishma was somehow more fortunate than Arjuna because he was having face-to-face darshan of the Lord. Arjuna was behind. Now, Krishna was the chariot driver of Arjuna. We may say, well, Krishna was the chariot driver of Arjuna. Krishna should also be my chariot driver. That's okay. He is driving all of our chariots, whether we know or not. But we have to be the bowman. We have to carry the arrows and the bow and shoot. Krishna will not shoot the bow. Will not become the bowman for you. He will not do. He loves us, so he wants us also to participate. He wants us also to do something. You see, when people are babies, when kids are babies, the mother does everything for them. Feeds them, puts them to rest. But when they grow up, they graduate from college, they got a job and all these things. Then the children, they come to take care of the parents. So yeah, the parents were like the charioteer of the children, but not all through life. And if we want Krishna to be also to shoot the arrows for us, in other words, we do have challenges like Arjuna. And we should be conscientious that just like Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna, Krishna is also always there to give us a sense of direction. Prabhupada says, make your plans and hang it on Krishna like a garland. And sometimes some people say, well, I just depend on Krishna. What's your plan? I don't have any plan. Good for you. So, Arjuna, there's so many things we can learn. We can learn from the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was also a pure devotee of the Lord, but he was doing the service of a military officer. Bhishma Dev was a general in Simo. But all of them were engaged in service. All of them Bhishma Dev also fought in a battle. And therefore, it is important for us to understand that for some people, non-devotees, who tend to relegate the position of the pure devotee, that they're not doing anything, they're just chanting just to remember Krishna. Who cannot do that? I remember somebody, when I just was coming to the temple, there was one professor. So I used to go out on Sankirtan with him during the weekends when I come to the temple. And then this professor, he will go out. I will go out with him. But he saw how vigorously I was preaching, so he told me, "You should become a full-time." That time I was with the judiciary. He told me, "You should become a full-time devotee. You make a lot of success." And then he said, "But for him, he cannot become a full-time devotee because he knows the science of Krishna consciousness." Listen, he said he knows the science of Krishna. So I said, "Tell me, what is it?" He said, "The whole thing is that you have to remember Krishna at the time of death, and he knows that." So we may hear the philosophy and we may use the philosophy for a wrong judgment and a wrong decision making. So he never took Krishna consciousness very seriously because he had one thing. You remember Krishna at the time of death. He said, "Now I know the secret. I don't need to work too hard. I don't need to come and live in the temple. I don't need to do so much of serious service. I don't need to chant too much." So when we know the secret of success, we have to be able to meet the mark. We don't just assume that remembering Krishna, concentrating on Krishna's name, his pastime at the time of death, that is the goal. And, I know that. So at the time of death, I will just do that. When the chest becomes choked up with mucus, if you've ever seen someone who is about to die, they can't function. They are completely dysfunctional. There's so much in pain. How are you going to remember Krishna at that time? It's only by Krishna's special mercy. And so the practice of Krishna consciousness is to align us with ideas, practical ideas, to be able to execute in our lives, so that when we have to face death, we have to face death gallantly. Papa mentioned in the purport that the impersonalists, they have this alignment with the Brahman Jyoti. And so, for them, they are not interested in worshiping the personal feature of the Lord. And Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that if even they merge into the Brahman effulgence, at some point in time, they fall back again to the material world. In fact, Lord Brahma and the host of demigods succinctly provided details about this in the 10th canto, chapter 2, text 32. Yenye ravidakshta vimukta maninas triasta the Buddha. Because of impure intelligence, the Buddha. These impersonalists, they tend to think that they are liberated. And Lord Brahma says, this is vimukta manina, wishful thinking. If I don't have the resources and I still think, well, I'd like that limousine, let me just get my money in the bank and then buy the limousine. It's called wishful thinking. I don't have any money in the bank. I'm a poor guy. So the impersonalists who think that by merging into the Brahman effulgence, they'll be happily situated, eternally happily situated. But the very secondary creator of this universe says, no, they will fall down. Patantiado Yusman Angreya. And so, in that very purport, the commentators who are disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they mention that the non-devotees, it's a whole bunch of group of people who are non-devotees. The kamis, the gyanis, the yogis, the politicians, the big-time politicians who are vying for power. Why are they doing this? And it's so difficult to achieve what they have to achieve. But then ultimately, they'll be kicked out from their wealthy positions, from their high-profile positions, by death. And so the devotee has a very great advantage that what he needs to do or she needs to do is just to be able to cultivate bhakti and attain the perfection of bhakti by dint of always thinking of Krishna, always remembering Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, his paraphernalia, his activities. But we think that this is so easy. It's not so easy. And so, devotional service looks like a very easy-going process. But from experience, we see that it's not an easy-going process. That's why we need mercy, we need service. Mahat Seva. We need some service to the great souls, to these pure devotees. When you serve someone, you are basically making a proposal. And if you serve someone so nicely, say for instance, you are close to Modi. Let me use this gross example. And then every day you've gone to his office to do some service. One day we'll ask you, hey my friend, what can I do for you? But that is so pervasive in society. Anyone that is rendering service to us, we want to extend some merciful sidelong glances on them. We want to treat them special. And that is why, for instance, husband and wife, if a woman wants to put the husband inside her purse, a pocket of her purse, just serve the husband very nicely. And whatever you say, he said, yes, I will do. Because rendering of service and receiving of service, it entails a lot of, cohesion, energy exchange that binds us. It creates a bond. Each time you receive service from someone, you are facilitating a bond in the relationship. So, each time we make some service to Krishna, Krishna is aware of that. And he becomes available. The more service we render with quality, the more Krishna becomes available to us. And therefore it is important that taking the footsteps of the Mahajans like Bhishma Dev, he was able to attract even Lord Krishna at the time of his death. And anyone here could attract even his spiritual master at the time of death. I've seen the case of Rana Maharaj. I know a number of disciples, and I know specific case in Mumbai. One devotee that was, leaving his body. Sometimes people, some of the devout other community members, they think, oh, he's not a very serious person. But at the time that he was leaving, his Guru Maharaj was there to make the transition. That is a great fortune in devotional service. It's not like the professor who says, I know the secret. So, the whole episode or the whole narratives of the Bhagavatam is to motivate us to become closer, to move closer to Krishna in devotional service. Understanding that whatever we achieve out there out of devotional service, whatever people achieve, no matter their position, again one day they'll fall down. Look, Haiti, the president had just been assassinated. After struggling, the wife said, they struggled so much for 25 years. The wife also was shot. But somehow or the other, she survived it. So after struggling so hard for so many years, for decades, one day, he's gone. So let's see this Krishna consciousness in the way, in the lens of the pure devotees. Remembering that we have to strive so hard. But for what? To remember Krishna always. Don't get frightened. How am I going to remember Krishna always? we are on track. We are practicing, okay? We are doing all of these services. Every day you wake up early in the morning to go to Mangalati, to come to class, to do some service, to chant your rounds. So this is a preparatory stage for us to be able to reconnect and be again in Lord Krishna's association at the end of this very life. And anyone could attain perfection by the mercy of Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada, I have heard a Prabhupada said that if someone stays in this movement and renders service, follows the principles, regulatory principles, at the end, he will personally take care. So it's not only by our efforts, by the mercy of the Acharya, by the mercy of Prabhupada, by the mercy of the spiritual master. And so let's not be frightened to remember Krishna every moment of our life. That might not be so easy now, but as we practice, if even something tragic happens, say an accident. I remember in 1990 I was traveling and it was in the night. It was in the public transport. And all of a sudden, the car skidded off the road. And and people were shouting, So then I was dozing before because I was chanting and then I got tired. So then I had people shouting. Then, then when I opened my eyes, I realized that, there's an accident. So then the first thing that came to my thought was, my life is finished. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That was the last thing I knew I did. So by practice, and so many people have left, have left their bodies, and they attain perfection. They attain Krishna consciousness. They remember Krishna. We should also be in the mood of Bhishmadev, of trying to concentrate our mind. In other words, we should remember that there is nothing more important in our lives than the devotional service we are practicing. If we don't have that conviction, then it's a difficult thing to deal with. Every other thing will follow. And so, Krishna consciousness is brought to everyone by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and by following Srila Prabhupada's programs in his temple. We become purified. And sometimes we forget that the simple things we have to do are the things that facilitate the purification. But yet the simple things are the ones that facilitate the purification. And so we just have to follow that up. And perfection will be rest assured. Remembrance of Krishna at the time of death will be rest assured. Don't be afraid. Masucha. Okay, any question or comments? Yes. I think it's here.
Maharaj, thanks for the wonderful class. The question is that most of the time we sacrifice our devotional service for sense gratification. So, at when or how it might happen that we may sacrifice our sense gratification for devotional service.
What's the question?
Usually we like, okay, now this is over. What do you like to say?
The question is how to sacrifice sense gratification for devotional service.
Oh, yeah. Any devotee who has come to Krishna consciousness is sacrificing sense gratification for devotional service. Everybody here is sacrificing their sense gratification for devotional service. Because without that sacrifice, it's called, in economics, it's called opportunity cost. You're taking something higher in replacing something lower. So we know that sense gratification, basically, we also have to have that knowledge, that understanding, that sense gratification is entangling. If we don't remember that, and then we get some terrible reactions from sense gratification. If we don't remember that, it's so easy to go back to sense gratification. So just like we try to remember Krishna every moment of our lives, we should also try to remember that sense gratification is entangling. And it's replete with severe reactions. Knowledge is able to give us a motivation for action. If we don't remind ourselves, it's so easy. And even a moment in attention can get us into trouble. So we have to be attentive all the time to the scriptural teachings. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much again for participating in this Krishna consciousness in the Bhagavatam class. I keep doing this because this is what the Bhagavatam itself says will purify us. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.